Welcome back, everyone, to the Functional Code. We're excited to bring to you guys today another episode. We are going to be talking about the science of napping. I don't know if you nap, but it's something that I love and enjoy, and it can be extremely helpful if done right. And we're going to talk a lot about the best ways to do it today and get into the science of why it's important. So as always, I am Dr. Addy.
And I'm Dr. Jace. Yeah, especially if you start noticing yourself plateauing in life or you're feeling potentially groggy in the day. And yes, diet and food intake will have an effect on that, but
Sure.
There's a lot of stuff that you can do, especially in regards to napping or non-sleep deep rest, in terms of the neural recovery of your whole system. And that's some of the stuff that we're going to get into today. So in terms of napping itself, I know, Doc, on a typical Monday through Friday, our offices, our clinics are set up to where for most days we have a lunch break in time. I know for myself personally, that's where I usually take small naps, not every workday, but a decent amount.
How often a week do you think you nap, Doc? Just an estimate.
On average, I would say 3-ish or so times a week.
Yeah. Is it usually during the week or also on weekends?
Mostly during the week, but some weekends, depending on, like if I'm overdriving, doing a lot of stuff. If I feel like my body starts to fatigue, then I have to take sleep and bump that up, whether it's more going to bed earlier or during the days or sleeping in maybe a little bit on the weekends. But I try to stay as consistent as I can going to sleep and then waking up. So that's where naps come in play.
What's your typical nap time? What do you like to try to shoot for?
Definitely no more than 90 minutes. Somewhere around lines of like 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes or so.
Yeah. And we'll get to some of the reasons why that's going to be important to learn and talk about when it comes to naps. Yes. I'm the same way. I would say I have between 3 to 5 naps a week, and I'm on average like 15 to 30 minutes per nap. On the weekends, my naps are a little longer. I try not to go over 2 hours because I just get really groggy after that. But there are times where I either haven't slept very well or just been overtaxed and I just need some recovery. And I will shoot a longer weekend nap in the mix there. But I'm always napping Friday afternoon after our half day shift. That's a go-to. Usually it's like an hour. And then day to day in the week between shifts is like a good 15, just a quick 15, 20 minute nap. And I do notice anything over 30, I start to get into that groggier setting. If I keep it 15 to 20, that's where I don't get that kind of kind of grogginess, and it really does help. So
yeah, for me it's like an hour or so.
That's when you start feeling it?
Yeah, okay. Especially the Friday afternoon, I can so relate with that. Like, for those that are listening, our clinics are open like morning till 1-ish or so, and then usually after that, it's like, especially after a long week, it's a lot on the system. But if I go anywhere past an hour or two, I'm like toast the rest of the Friday or the rest of that day.
Is there any way that you prepare for the nap? I know you talk a lot about yoga nidra.
Yes.
But I'm curious, what are some ways that either you try to maybe efficiently hack the nap, or what are some things, thoughts, processes that go into your naps?
Yeah, so usually when I'm prepping, you want a darker area space, ideally, somewhat mimicking what the position you would sleep at in like the nighttime.
Yep.
So you have that consistency brain-wise and kind of body-wise as well. But a lot of this, like the setting the right environment, it's tougher for a short period of time to change the setting of the thermostat to get cooler or colder.
For sure.
In a perfect world, that'd be ideal, but for most people, including myself at least, it's tough. So dark room, ideally less sound, less stress. Putting the phone outside the room, but with a higher sounding alarm so I can hear it. So it forces me to get out of bed. Because I have a tendency to set multiple alarms, and my wife absolutely hates it. One go off, cancel that out. Another one, cancel that. So I have to bypass that a little bit. And so a lot of it is just that prep work of the setting, and then for myself, I can fall asleep really quickly for the most part, or at least get into like that first few stages of sleeping to where you're not completely asleep, but you can feel like you're turned off, if you will. And then sometimes if I feel like I'm either fatigued, but still like my mind's racing, then that's where I either have like musics or certain like sound bite frequencies going on in the background. So you can have that back there as well. And even like with the Yoga Nidra, there's different scripts that you can listen to on YouTube that are like 20 minutes long. I think Andrew Huberman, NSDR is an awesome tool that you can YouTube. Something that's I go through, but not often.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
What about you?
I'm very similar. I have to have it pitch black.
Okay.
Because that's the quickest way for me to get to down regulating my nervous system. And so I don't like napping when there's a lot of light around me. I don't feel like it's as effective.
Sure.
So I'll pick an exam room that's got no windows, and we have those cervical pillows, so I'll steel one with plastic wrap around it and then use that as my pillow.
Smart.
And then I would say at home, if I'm napping, it's usually on the couch. I don't like to nap in my bed. I find that I will tend to try to sleep longer if I'm like really comfortable. It's not that I don't want to be comfortable, it's just it has its purpose.
Yes.
And the couch isn't as comfortable, and I'll be able to get a good rest in there, but my couch, if I sleep on it for longer than an hour, I'm sore anyway, so that's where it's nice to not get me to sleep 4 hours if I really didn't try to stop myself. But yeah, I like it pitch black. I try to shoot for that 15 to 20 minute time. I do have my phone in the room because I just want to make sure that I get my alarm. I don't ever really fall asleep. It's more of just a way to rest.
Yes.
If I do fall asleep, it's for maybe a few minutes. I'll wake up and be like, oh shit. But really, the best thing that I can say is when I don't sleep well, it is a great way for me to continue my afternoon shift if my morning shift was sluggish because I didn't sleep very well. But
yes,
I look forward to that nap because it does change how I can get through the next shift. And then I usually work out at night, so I want to make sure my energy is good and we're up to speed there. And I do feel like that does make a difference. If I'm napped, my performance in the gym is better at the end of the day.
Yeah, same here with that as well. And sometimes I nap for different purposes, and you may feel the same way. Yes, there's times where it's like you're fatigued, tired, but I also am strategic. Like if I'm learning something, or if I've experienced like a patient in the morning that has a lot of stuff going on that I need to try to remember a few things, then I purposely try to get into nap restful states, because for those that are listening, it also helps for neuroplasticity, memory recall, so you can upload a lot of the information to the brain as you're getting to the restful states. And it also helps for stress reduction, reset some of those biomarkers. I feel like there's so many other things
for sure
that are involved with like naps that can help reset your system moving forward into your day, throughout your day. But
I remember learning in school that the closer to bedtime you're studying, the kind of greater chance, because if you sleep right after, it does help with that upload. And so I would purposefully wait to study until right before I went to bed.
Smart.
So that I could hopefully then efficiently hack remembering all the darn flashcards that we had to go through.
The tough part with that is, and I did the same thing, but I sometimes would then fall asleep and not study the rest of everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So
the other part too is like I get into flow state when I learn.
Ooh,
I love learning.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, 8 p.m., try to go to bed by 9. I'll flow state it from 8 to 9. I'm like, I'm not tired now. Yeah. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's learn. So that's the only other problem too would be, I do tend to, I'll catch a second wind, if you will, when I start to learn.
Yeah.
Because it's like a drug for me, man. I love it. So I have my topics that I don't like that I'll save for nighttime, so that I had to at least consume and study, and then I'd save those so that it wouldn't give me as much of stimulation because I didn't like learning too much about it, and I'd hack it that way. But yeah, I remember reading that 10 to 30 minutes was the most ideal time. You're going to see changes in, like you said, memory read. You're going to see performance changes, recovering health, those kind of things. There was a study that showed, I don't know if you know this, they did a study and showed that, especially in the elderly or those who are ill, if you see frequent napping over 60 minutes, it's actually a sign of poor health. And it can be a higher risk of cardiovascular disease and mortality. And really, it's just showing that the energy probably isn't where it should be, and the naps are needed. And so if you do see that, that's something that you should just be cautious of, because really that frequent napping for long periods of time is going to then transition yourself into sedentariness, and you're going to have a more harder time being active.
Yes.
Really is what they're showing.
Yeah, and you said that really well. And I think a part that sticks out to what you just said is the need for like naps. I think for us, it's maybe not as much of a need as it is more like a tool to use to help us along the day.
Good point.
Recognizing the awareness for those that are listening, is it an absolute need for you? Is it more of a tool / want-ish area? Because once you get into the need, then yeah, you probably want to start diving into blood work, biomarkers, because there's probably something off.
Yeah, and I think too, if you find yourself needing to nap every single day and you still don't feel rested after the nap, maybe you need to start hacking your sleep, your actual sleep, because I feel like that also is more of a marker, or you can recognize that may not be what it should be.
Yes.
Because again, I don't have to nap every day. I like you said, I use it more of a tool.
Yes.
But I do know that I work pretty hard on making sure my sleep is good. And I would be curious to see how others feel if sleep isn't where it should be, and does that then take away your need to feel like you need to nap all the time?
Yeah, that's a whole thing. And even with some of this too, and I think taking out of different from our perspective of it works well with our schedule of napping between morning, afternoon shift, but even thinking about people that work like a 9-to-5 job, or maybe like say a 8 to 3, and then they try napping afterwards. I think if you nap later on in the afternoon, it's going to be, for most people, challenging to fall asleep at night, so you have to take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I know many who are exhausted, come home after their shift at maybe 5-6 o'clock. They hit the couch and they're asleep for an hour, and then they wake up and make some food. It can delay or change that circadian rhythm, and now you are going to have a little bit harder time falling asleep at night, which I would recommend you don't do.
Yes.
Because we don't want to impact sleep negatively. Even though I know you're probably exhausted. A lot of you, I know how we get into those rhythms. You're just going through the motions. You're trying to do your best to get through the work week, and I know how that goes. But at the same time, fight it as much as you can. That'll at least increase sleep drive, like you talked about.
Yes.
And wait an extra couple hours, have your supper, relax, and try to then even make it harder for you to fall asleep. Make it first harder to obviously choose to not nap, but that then will increase sleep drive. And I would almost say it makes your sleep even better.
100%. And then what is that, like the time that you're napping, what is that taking potential in place of, whether it's your kids, whether it's maybe working out?
For sure.
So if you nap, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to get up, make sure you do body maintenance, working out and stuff like that, supper, and then going back to sleep. Depends on night owl, morning lurk kind of deal, but yeah, I think that's important. And also to add into the equation, when your body works in 90-minute, what's known as ultradian cycles, if you go past the 90 minutes, whether it's a bout of studying, whether it's a nap, if you go past that, you're going to reach a breaking point sooner. Thus, past 90 minutes or an hour and a half, you're going to start feeling groggy throughout the rest of the day, or vice versa. If you're doing a lot of like mental mind work, you're going to get to a point where you're so far in, and then you maybe hit like a wall, you feel like you have to reset. That's probably your internal system saying, okay, we've reached a point, take a break before you work into another ultradian cycle.
Yeah, and that we talked about with the Pomodoro technique, where you almost set yourself up to use these cycles, where you're doing a 20-minute, 30-minute on, 5 or 10 minute off, 20, 30 minute on, 5 to 10 minute off, and you can avoid that 90 to 120 huge study session where it drains you, and it would almost prevent you from continuing to focus later on, especially if you need to do, let's call it a full day's work of, let's say, 8 intentional hours. You're not gonna work intentionally 8 hours in a row. That's just not a thing.
It's tough.
And most of us take some type of break anyway.
Yes.
But if you really want to be efficient, you could ultimately have some type of setup where you're intentionally working for 30-ish minutes, take a 5-minute break, do a micro break, like we've talked about, getting your daily joint mobility work in, your breath work, your hydration, all that other stuff. And then go back to it. You're going to have way more efficiency and longevity in your day doing something like that than hitting the freaking keyboard. Look up, it's 4 hours later, you're like, all right, I'm done for the day. I did my work.
Yes.
And you'll avoid those kind of crashes.
Yeah. Most people, you have more energy than you think too. Like, yes, there's certain conditions and diagnoses that will affect that, but for most people as a whole, if you push through it, you have X amount of energy, especially with some of the resources stored in adipose tissue and all that. And even adding into the equation as well, when you're going to napping, it's also helping clear out, it's like a lymphatic reset flush for your nervous system. Well, it helps for brain neuroplasticity, just nervous system brain health and stuff too. That was another small thing that most people just don't realize added into naps.
So Doc, what would be some ways that they could apply, or at least try, what we were talking about maybe the next week or two?
Oh, beautiful. I would look at your schedule as a whole. Maybe where certain time frames that you could potentially add in like a 20-30 minute nap, but that you could also come back from it without feeling like groggy. And you know yourself best, but what are maybe a few times throughout the week for certain specific days that you can add that in? I know for us it's lunch break, works super well, or post work. Maybe that same thing with you. Do you have a longer lunch break? You're not even adding in, let's say you're a morning person, you wake up 5-6 a.m., you're able to do work, but maybe your day starts a little later. Are you able to do a bunch of work, maybe add in a small rest period, and then start your day, continue on maybe mid-morning or so? That would be another idea.
Yeah.
Or vice versa, maybe you're a night owl, outside work, and this is where it's, for some people, a little tricky because what are your goals in life, and you want to make sure that you're not neglecting other aspects of your physiology, going back to working out post-work. Even if it's a meditation session and you're just getting and turning your brain off and getting away from all the notifications, phone text alerts, and just desensitizing, that can be similar in terms of this like restful state that we're trying to talk on with you guys about. But I think those would be the few places I would start, look at the schedule, plan it out, and then actually put into action those specific steps. But
yeah, I would say the only thing I'm going to add would be there are times in your day where you're probably doing something not productive. And instead, try to trade some of that time out for something like this, whether it's a meditative session or a nap session. And I know at night we like to scroll on our phones or watch TV, and so that's probably not the time to swap it. But I can assure you there are times in your day, I know a lot of us probably are going to grab something to eat or have a lunch break for an hour, and 15 of that is eating, the rest is on our phone. So don't argue with that, where that other 15 minutes or 30 minutes could be used just to try to bring yourself down. And that's where I think you could eat much more easily, add that into your day than you think.
Yes.
And you just kind of have to be intentional with your time.
Well
But yeah, I think it can be done for most, unless of course you are the busiest human on earth and you just happen to not have any time for something like that. But I would say for a good amount of us, we have that time. You just have to find it.
Yeah, there's not many Elon Musk type of individuals in this world. Yeah. And even if so, depends on your priority. If you're that busy, you will have a schedule and you can work this into your schedule.
Yeah, and I'm curious if that guy naps or not. I have no idea if he naps or not. But
Gary Vee is the same way.
I know there are plenty of high performers who take naps. I've heard.
More than you think.
Yeah, and they think it's crucial to continue to keep that level of intensity throughout their day. So
I love that.
All right, Doc.
I guess so. Yeah, I got one.
All right, go for it.
So, Doc, question that came in my mind: is there, in a time or experience that you've napped or went to this restful state that worked out perfectly? Let's say something happened and then either you're strategically wanting to go into a nap or a down regulation period? And if so, I guess how did that situation turn out for you?
Yeah, I would say there are times where I plan for a nap and then my lunch hour turns into work hour, and I just don't have that ability. This last month was quite busy for the clinic, and that kind of happened a few times. So what I ended up doing was I tried to get all of the important stuff done right after my shift ended and substituted the longer lunch kind of time I take for myself to enjoy the food. And I shortened that and still left time for the nap.
Yes.
And typically I like to try to nap because I go back to work at 2. I like to nap from 1 to 1:30. Give myself some time to get to it and do some other stuff. But I didn't have that luxury. So I had a client call from 12:30 to 1:30. And I quickly ate my food from 1:30 to 1:45, and I napped from 1:45 to 2.
Ooh, all right.
And it felt amazing. Like for some reason, it just ended up still being a great amount of time. It wasn't hurting for more sleep because, again, if you're sleeping at 30 minutes to an hour, you tend to get groggy. So I kept it under that, and my body wasn't going deeper into that cycle of sleep. And it was easy to come back out of that restful state. And I started right back up with the afternoon shift, and I felt really good. So that would be a time, and it's happened more often than just that time, but it's where, again, it's intention, and it can be done. It's just, what are you sacrificing? Did I work from 12:30 to 1:30 and then say, oh, it looks like I don't have much time, I'm just going to eat and scroll on my phone until 2 minutes? No. How do we be intentional about that? And you can get it done. So how about yourself? Was there a time where you really felt that the nap did wonders for that part of your day, or have there just been times that you can remember it's been super helpful when you've incorporated it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, a lot of times I know I touched on like memory recall, especially when you're trying to learn something or upload. Definitely very intentional from there. But the times I feel like, okay, when I'm strategic about it, I know I probably didn't sleep the night before. So almost planning out potentially for that day to work in like a down regulation period, nap time kind of deal. And most times when I recognize that I didn't sleep well, that I put that as more of a higher focus that I'm going to need this, especially if I'm thinking that there's going to be more challenging patients or other stuff going on in the afternoon or afterwards that I'm going to need a prep for. So I then become a little bit more strategic. One situation I can't really think of, but it's that consistent, like that mindset. That's happened a few times.
Yeah.
But the thing that I don't think we've talked about too much is, let's say we've got to a point, maybe we slept longer or rested longer than we should have. How can you get out of and maybe break apart that groggy type feeling? And that's where, for me specifically, as I get out of that, but I still feel like groggy, tired, and I'm taking a page out of like somatic training type of deal, is bring your body and mind's awareness to different parts of your body. And what I mean by that is, let's say I feel tired, I still want to stay in bed. I then switched, okay, I can still stay in this position, still stay comfortable, but my nervous system and mind thought can change. And that's where I then go to, okay, tired, groggy, I'm gonna feel both my feet and connect my attention from brain to my feet. Maybe let's wiggle my toes. Work its way up to my mind, and attention goes to, can I lightly either contract my knees, thighs, legs, or just bring my mind awareness there, and then work up this system. It works very similar if you want to think about the top of your head to your ears, to relaxing or tensing up your jaw, to your arms, then to your body and down to your feet, or opposite, feet to body, arms to head. You're changing your attention. As you change your attention, you're going to start noticing different systems come on board. And for me, more times than not, I'm able to switch that fatigue aspect with the awareness to get myself up.
It's almost like ramping up the nervous system in a way. Would you say that's what's going on?
Yeah, but just in terms of like mind and attention and selective awareness.
Yeah.
The other aspect would be like, let's say you're still feeling groggy, you may be sat up, you're like, I don't want to get going. That's where then I either ramp up either more inhales than exhales, so you're getting the breath and the nervous system on board that way, and or zoning in at a close up like object, so you're zoning in at a specific point as I'm inhale breathing that, or I plug or drink a bunch of water post afterwards, or ramp up the nervous system. Those are like the few tools I use on a consistent basis that works really well.
Yeah, I usually end up going for a walk outside, getting some fresh air, some light.
Yes.
I do like to drink some type of dilator, like a beetroot powder or some amino acid mix, which can get a little bit more blood flow going. And I don't like caffeine. I try not to use caffeine, so that's why I choose that instead. But I also notice one more thing for me is my diet. If I feel like the choice of food that I chose makes me more sleepy, I find myself I messed up because I knew that I ate way too many carbs is usually my problem. Carbs make me sleepy. I'm very carb sensitive, and I think others maybe feel that way as well. There are times when I choose certain meals at certain days because I'll just know that I either, for example, on half days, Friday, I can have a heavier lunch meal because I know that I don't have a shift coming up and I'm more than likely I'm going to nap.
Yep.
So I'm going to get myself ready for that. But if I'm busy and I'm like really needing to be on, I am doing a very high protein meal, very little carb, and it doesn't drain me blood sugar wise. Now, if I still need a nap or whatnot, I can't remember if I've even never had that situation, but that diet will affect you for your afternoon shift / if you're crashing. Yes. Caffeine's going to do the same thing. That's why I don't like using caffeine, because you will get the crash. Now, there are some different options for caffeine that I've started to deal with. One are these little nootropic pouches that contain vitamins, amino acids, and some caffeine. And that is a much cleaner way to get some energy. And I don't get the crash with it because it's got L-theanine and theobromine or those kind of other theacrine, I think is the other one. But those are just, again, a more cleaner way to get some energy without the crash. Because again, most people that are drinking coffee are drinking it with a crap ton of sugar, and caffeine count is through the fucking roof. It's a ginormous one. So there are definitely better ways to do that.
Love that. Yeah, I really like the point that you brought up in terms of nutrition wise, especially even the point you made up earlier. If you're eating lunch, maybe it's a little carb, but that'll help you through your small nap, which then can propel you into the day. I learned this early on in my life. Even if you eat fruits more at lunchtime, will also help you with less grogginess going into the afternoon, especially those that are in school or sleeping. That's incredibly important as well for most. Yeah. It depends on sensitivities to certain foods, of course, but yeah, what you have for lunch, breakfast, and even the night before matters working into your next day.
Yeah, and if you're running late and your body is wanting sustenance, it's going to want the stuff that you're going to crave, the quickest, easiest route of energy, and that's what your body is going to put messages out for. And it's going to be that quick fast food stop or something that's probably not what you're wanting. So at that time, where you know you don't have it, you're intentional. Okay, so I'm not going to have much time. How do I still plan around not having this carb craving? That's where a quick protein shake ready to go can be helpful in that time. You're getting something still quick, but it's better macro wise so that you're not going through those crashes in that afternoon. And then maybe later in the afternoon you can have time to make an actual meal, and you can at least sustain that because you got some protein in, and it's a little bit better.
And even, let's take a step back on even if you go into intermittent fasting or you didn't eat breakfast or you're not a breakfast person, that subsequently you'll notice yourself having more energy. Now, depends on sensitivity, of course. You then eat lunch and then take a nap. For most people, that order works best. Instead of nap and then you eat and then you start the afternoon. It's that transition for whatever foods that you have. Most times people are going to work in carbs just naturally.
For sure.
And then you're going to notice yourself being groggy. So I like the point that you brought up of eating, then napping, and then going to work from there. So
yeah,
solid call. For most people, that works really well. Yeah. Doc, is there anything else that you can think of?
No. I realized I love napping more than I thought. But yeah, if you guys nap, let us know. What are some of the things that you try to work in as far as hacks and efficiencies? And yeah, we hope that this was something that can share some insight into. Again, this is a very cheap hack to at least get some better performance outcome recovery into your day-to-day, we'll call it routine. So other than that, guys, we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Woo!
Disclaimer: the content provided in this health podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. Reliance on any information provided in this podcast is solely at your own risk. The creators and hosts of this podcast are not responsible for any actions or decisions you may take based on the information presented.
Thanks for joining us on The Functional Code. For more evidence-based health insights, subscribe, rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, your journey to a healthier you begins with understanding the Functional Code. Until next time, stay well, stay informed, and embrace the science of living well.